MetaMask provides a consensual transactional layer. There are three mostly like those like being extendable on having basically universal wallet where developer can build anything on top of it, and basically that's where MetaMask snaps are coming around, allowing users to interact. This is mostly on the API side, so anybody can also like building other wallets using the same API reference. Cross-platform, obviously, like you want to not only build in the Ethereum ecosystem, you want to also have non-EVM compatible chain support. And this is, I don't know if you guys using, like, for example, MetaMask, you know that you cannot put Bitcoin or Solana on your MetaMask because it's not non-EVM compatible, right? Hardware wallets, that's definitely also one part for reaching those ethical business models. But when we kind of resume the platform, like what's MetaMask today, it's not just a product, it's literally like a base layer where it's trying to cover like those three fundamentals, like the provisionless key management, where users, like the kind of like your private keys, don't lose your secret recovery phrase, these kind of things that are always people telling, they're actually true, right? Because you have ownership of your data, you have ownership of your finance, you're self-responsible for your, and this is also a responsibility that some people don't wanna have. Second is permissionless Web3 APIs. That's something that anybody without permission should ask for basically like specific calls for account states, request, revoke access. Every time that you can lock out in MetaMask whenever you want, but you can also revoke access to specific applications. And progressive community ownership, this is literally saying at the end of the day, like the users need to own the technology they're building. And this is basically what with MetaMask snaps is happening today. I will deep dive a little bit more, but in a nutshell, snaps are extension plugins on top of MetaMask that you can literally like add new functionality. It's quite interesting there is literally no limits. Like you wanna build, think about like WordPress plugins or Google Chrome extensions. Like you can build non-EVM compatible snaps where you can have access to Bitcoin. We build like a StarkNet snap, for example. It's quite interesting. So that API is the big developer, is the first big developer tools, right? And in a nutshell, yeah, it's getting a bit technical, right? But those API is a suite of like reference API application. I mean, the right, this is like the official statement, right? That there are API reference library that make you interact with the wallet. For signing, for accessing, for specific action. How does it work? I don't know if you heard about Windows Ethereum, but this is an EIP 1193 being introduced back in the days, and it's an open open framework. And when basically you use that, you just inject Windows Ethereum into your web page. I can also show you a little bit like this is. We can also show it live, but it's a little bit faster. When you actually have your MetaMask attached, you can go in your sources, and when you see like in your page that you have MetaMask, that means that you are interacting with it. Those are specific calls that you can do, for example, when you're injecting Windows Ethereum. And this 0x89 is literally a chain ID that I think is, I don't know what's represent I think it's Polygon mainnet, could be? I don't know if you know, guys. 089, but you can literally play also with the console without actually playing, instead playing with the bottom of MetaMask when you're calling something. You can pass this on also on the console in Chrome. Basically what's saying 089 clear is the Polygon mainnet, always when you're adding new chains, suggestion always use, for example, like things like chain lists or something. We can if this was not, I don't know why it's doing like that, but there's, I don't know, when you install MetaMask, right now I have Flask installed, Do you see it or it's too small? I don't know if I need to change the. But what you can do is basically when you're gonna get another new network. How many of you guys know how to put the network on MetaMask?
Sorry?
Like how to put a new network on MetaMask? Yeah, I think it's quite straightforward. But chainlist is one that you can use. So 089, for example, is a Polygon network that is assigned as 137 chain ID. So, resuming, MetaMask API. So, for any developer out there, those API allow you to interact and perform specific action, right? And we can see it together. How they're interacting is through like JSON RPC. Just to do another like high level description for the people out here, what's a JSON RPC? It's basically like a standard procedure when calling specific APIs. Why? They are transport lightweight, designed to be simple, and you can actually try in your browser the things that we showed before on in this vector. Some example. This is when you're actually requesting a call. You define the ID, JSON RPC, the method. For example, here the method is chain ID, and the parameters are none. The response that you're getting is the 0x1 as a result, and this is basically correlated to a specific like chain. Example 2, it's that. Oh shit! Good point. Is it this? Is there?
Right.
Nice. Example 2, do you see this? Yeah, you saw this, right? Example 2, it's basically what you're doing is you're interacting with the parameter 1, and it's giving more information where you're getting as response Ethereum chain where the mainnet is 0, 1. This is another example, and one thing is also to show you, I put a bunch of links that you can also see offline when I'm sharing the presentation. But they're all different methods, and we can check it online. I put those resources on. When we see, for example, the API playground, we go through the API playground first, then I can show you some example. For example, when you see that, so small. But long story short is, since 2 years, we ask ourselves, hey, mobile and extension cannot work with known standard libraries, and we pre-build and basically like similar to NFT standards. You know, if you know that NFT standards like specific reference for NFTs, attribution. We basically build the same for like wallets APIs. That in the future, not just the extension we use and mobile, your MetaMask mobile will use when you click, like calling specific API, but also other wallets can use. And this is basically the standard API reference that was launched a couple of months ago. And also for like non-developer here, people can literally like also play directly. You can launch it here. You can say, okay, how we want to interact, and you can see what's the response rate.
Is it a sort of Postman for Ethereum?
Yes, I mean you can use also Postman, but those are literally all the API. See, yes, Postman is a way to interact with specific APIs, and this is like a reference, like a library of APIs that can be used for any wallet out there.
You can think of it as a wrapper, providing you a GUI for just Ethereum specific function calls. So you don't have to really import all the Ethereum RPC into it. So it will intuitively for non-technical users by clicking one button do a lot of stuff in the background.
See about exactly. Let me just go back. Resources, yeah, Ethereum provider API, RPC, we covered that. API Playground. There is a test app that we can see together in a few moments. But basically, the test app is testing specific APIs listed there. For the playground, as I basically show you now, this is basically a list of API methods, and you can try it now. It's quite cool. The one things that I showed you before. Yeah.
I just remember something when I was doing my thesis. I was trying to call each send draw transaction at that time.
What's the name?
I was trying to call a method each send draw transaction.
Yeah.
I think at that time either MetaMask or Infura was blocking that. Is it still the case?
It's a good question. I don't know. You say ETH normally retrieve keys?
No, send raw transaction.
Send raw. You see that you have send transaction.
Send transaction is the normal one, it's signed and sent.
Yes.
The raw one is signed but not sent. So
I think,
like,
but this was on the.
It and then later, and at that time I think I created an issue.
But I think the issue was created from the RPC provider from Infura.
That was what I got from MetaMask, that it's Infura.
But it's Infura, yes. Yes, because this the only way for blocking APIs is on the deployment level, and it's a provider. It's the same when I mean, but in theory you could actually point to any other RPC that are not blocking it.
Remote procedure call. So it's the endpoint that actually is gonna take what MetaMask, let's say, abstracts away in terms of GUI and do the magic behind.
Yeah. So it's a lower level.
Think of it as a backend.
Yeah.
Yes.
Thanks.
Yes, it's basically like. Yeah, this is good. We're learning. So ask question. I think this is very an healthy conversation. You have wallet underscore. So every time that, for example, you ask the wallet permission when you're logging in, you're literally calling those specific APIs: wallet request permission, wallet get permission, and now we see it. There. I think what we can show is actually doing it directly live. Here, you have this. This is a way to show people like it's a test app, and each of these transaction. For example, when you ask permissions, what you're doing is you're requesting the permission. You see it perfect. You see and you connect, right? Think about those methods. Those methods are the same things when you're actually clicking in your MetaMask extension. That's what I'm trying to say. And you see, okay, ETH account result. Or for example, when you permission, okay, it's a permission. So when you send, when you click the thing send, what you're doing is on the back end, you're calling those API references. And this is basically when you see that. Is it big enough? I don't know. I'm just trying to increase it, but it doesn't work.
Yes.
It's fine.
Yeah, we can see.
But basically when you send a transaction, you see that. When I'm basically confirming, I see, okay, that's a send transaction, and I can you can do multiple things. So each of these API is basically the most important one are shown here. And you will, I mean, if you're using MetaMask, you see, for example, like Ethereum chain interaction. I don't know this one, but for example, you can interact when you do a personal sign, when you're signing a specific transaction, or when you sign messages, when you're interacting with a app. You literally do that, and you're signing it.
It's interesting that every time you click on
the
MetaMask appears on the top right. Why is that?
This one?
Why the widget appears when you?
No, because but now it's like having it open right now. This is just a test MetaMask. But why it's opening? Because we are basically what I'm showing here is that. Those API reference, each of this bottom here is just a demo of each API reference, like each bottom when you're clicking it. That's why it's opening up. It's showing as for example, you are sending ETH, how will it work when you're calling this API? It will be like that. And when you're basically confirm or reject as you want. But for example, when you create a token, what you can do is basically the same process that you will do on the extension. You see, boom, created a token. and this will be stored in the backend. That's why you don't see it.
So basically, any company can create its own MetaMask version, white label MetaMask.
In theory, you can take those APIs, those API reference, and this is called API Playground, and use those as you want. There are a bunch of wallets using specific APIs on this library. I mean, what I'm also trying to pass here is also the fact that MetaMask extension is just an interface, is a layer. What's happening in the backend is exactly calling those API. And I think that's kind of the lesson learned also for that.
In a DApp, you don't have a real backend, you just have a front end, but you need some way to make calls to the blockchain. And MetaMask is basically kind of like your driver to make those calls, to make whatever you want to do, take your permission and broadcast it to the blockchain so it can do whatever the thing needs to do on the blockchain.
Exactly.
MetaMask is owned by Consensus.
Yes.
Correct?
Yes.
Consensus is like the IBM of Web3.
It's like it's like a software company that build a specific product at the beginning and is mostly focused on infrastructure products, developer toolings, and MetaMask is one of those. Yeah. So we went through the API playgrounds, right? Let's just what I showed you here is the test app. I don't know if you have any questions. But you can test all the various methods when you guys go home and you don't have anything to do, boom, you can test this, right? It's a fun thing to do. The next part are the SDK. So MetaMask SDK, those are mobile SDK. So every time that, because those are also quite new, right? Think about when you are, for example, everybody has mobile, right? They want to interact with a DApp, they want to interact with something. You're basically scanning the QR code, and this time you're basically using what the developer build. And the SDK are literally way for example, game developer to integrate the MetaMask tooling inside their DApp. I show you what does it mean. It's basically a pre-built library. Yes, but the cool thing is that they're already pre-built, so they're easier and faster to develop. That's a long story short. But where does SDK supporting today? Because that's always tricky. You need to see where those are built and when. And literally, there are companies out there that are providing the SDK, but what they're doing at the end, they're providing not native SDK. They're providing they're using basically other companies to provide the SDK. Right, Wallet Connect is providing those SDK for all the other wallets out there, for example. MetaMask SDK, and now I show you an example, right? In terms of support, right now you have React and Pure.js, and React and Node are the most famous right now for game developers. Mobile apps, React iOS, iOS and Android are coming soon, and the cool part is the gaming. Right now, Unity is being developed. I don't know how many of you guys know Unity, but it's literally now if you're a game developer, you're building on Unity. You're using Unity to build on top of that. And right now, when you wanna, there are Web3 games already, right? But it's a pain also to interact with your mobile wallet all the time. And basically that's what this part of the team is building, is trying to build support for specific for MetaMask SDK for the specific platform. I tell you exactly now with some example, right? Unity and Unreal Engine are literally the two big player in the space for gaming, and I can show you basically what happens here. So this is think about that your game that you build on Unity is here, right? Is your project, and what you can do is when you want to connect, you scan your QR code with. So just for understanding, this is a native integration. You're scanning right now with your mobile device. It's another device. It's like it's like an extension and other things with your mobile device. And when you are scanning it, it's automatically recognizing the. It's basically putting together your wallet and the game directly natively. So and basically that's the fun part about what is happening on Unity. Now it's all on the developer. Is in the Unity developer
framework. Can you
framework.
explain that, because I did not get that? What do you mean by putting them together natively?
So, like for example, you have specific there are other wallet SDKs. They're using, for example, Wallet Connect to scan your QR code and basically like add your account directly in the game. Yes.
So it's just like it's giving you a instantiated
Yes.
provider in the game.
Yes, exactly. And you, also as a game developer, you can build the support directly.
It's just a provider, not a signer.
No, not a signer. No, not signer. But you still, what I'm saying is also you can also directly with your mobile MetaMask get inside the Unity, basically speak directly with the Unity part.
One question.
Mm-hmm.
Why not then import Web3.js or Ethos.js? Why use MetaMask or something like that? Isn't that
because
one step more?
Yes, because you can. I think you can do it, but I think like when you're going when you're going on mobile, for example, I think it's too many steps to do that. So
it's not done mobile. So
yeah. I think those are too many steps, right? Because if you're looking the React one on mobile, what's happening, and I also demoed this, you connect directly on. You basically connect directly with the React Native mobile app. That's really what's happening here right now. Just showing all the time. You just connect, boom, and you're going back to the React part. So that's kind of like the adding value that you can directly build with those SDK the connection. Yeah.
When, again, because I'm going to start developing on mobile, what I'm doing right now. And my question would be, so if I use MetaMask, where is the private key being, after generation being stored? Is it on the secure element or is it on the normal UFS storage of the phone?
It's in, but it's in MetaMask all the time.
No.
Yeah.
It's in the MetaMask, but are you storing it in the, so on, let's say on iOS, you have the secure hardware element for cryptographic functions.
Yeah.
Are you storing it in the keychain of the iPhone, or are you storing it in the normal?
No, it's a normal. Yeah.
So it's a normal.
Yes. Unless you're saving it like save password from iOS, but I will not.
Is there some plan to use not just phone, but like I think after Intel generation 6 or 7, you have secure elements in almost every new chip that is released. So is there any, just for security reasons, is there any plans to integrate like these secure?
Yeah, right now the things that are done on the security level is more on the snaps level. For example, like finding private key recoveries, or like what's the name? Like when you actually have basically like what Argent does with email for recoveries issues. But the goal is not having mirrored, even if it's encrypted, if it's a new iOS, having your private key and password on the iOS. Plus, I think it's also like a personal decision, right? It's always a trade-off. Like I have like 15 different wallets for different use case. I will always like advise to like not using the same wallet for airdrops, not using the same wallet. Like have your like just a logical thing. That's basically the example. So Hyperplay, it's what they're doing is they launched. I don't know. Do you know BitDAO? It's basically the biggest DAO with the treasury on Earth. They're like 3.5 billion in treasury, and they spin different companies. And Game 7 is one of them, and Game 7 is basically owning Hyperplay, and Hyperplay want to be the Steam of gaming. They're basically like launching Web3 games directly on their platform. Obviously, like for doing that, you wanna not just connect your wallet, but you also wanna think about having your wallet being your verifiable identity too, right? So basically, what happens is this is the front end of the Hyperplay, and what you're doing is when you're installing something, is literally asking your QR code. Your QR code you're scanning with your mobile or any device that you have, and you're directly synced. And you can direct download and play on mobile or on your device the game. So, and basically that's where the MetaMask SDK are playing the role. That they are using those SDK to make the connection between the two. It makes sense? It's like it's quite fascinating. It's just the first steps to also like and now there are different support strategy. What's happening? Like the Unity and iOS, Android already spoke, but the Unity is super important. The game industry, especially the Web3 gaming industry right now, it's huge, and adding support on Unity for that, it's quite big. Yeah, so basically, that's it. That's for the SDK part. And now, like the most, I think, like the most exciting part on the dev tooling are snaps. So snaps, I already kind of mentioned before. What are those? We launched that at Denver this year, and they're running still on the developer side. They're not on production. Is something trying to understand. But in an official way, their snaps are basically extending the functionality in a fully decentralized way. Means that the community, the developer building snaps, they're owning their own snap. There is no way the MetaMask can actually own a snap because those are NPM packages basically. We use snaps as the most important feature for the future of MetaMask. Why is that? I will show in a few moments. But the TLDR is that the community can build. We get around. We have like 8,000 open issues on GitHub only on extension, and there are around something like I think like 700 open requests for features on extension, like only the past 6 months. Basically, those features can be built on snaps. I will show you like example of Snap after. But also the interesting part is that snaps are interacting with MetaMask, and every interaction is fully transparent in terms of what snaps will require for the extension to basically do his job. And we'll show you what does it mean. Like there are wallets today that you click and you have no idea what's happening. Not just wallets, like specific dApp. Like even if you're checking specific source code, part are maybe not fully open source, and this is scary, like especially because the users sometimes they have no idea what's happening, and this is also like the fascinating part. Even like look at the plugin ecosystem like WordPress. When you're like installing a plugin, like you just install it, you see the review of course. But when you're actually clicking, like sometimes you have no idea which part of WordPress are being used, for example. That's kind of the analogy that I'm using. But the long story short is there are basically zero permission by default, so there is no way that specific things are happening, and the users are always there is always a communication between every time that you sign it, you need to accept each permission. For network access, those are the most like disk access. When you say disk access, is also private key. There are snaps that are accessing your secret copy phrase for specific things, and those are literally saved and communicated in the snap. A snap this is also fascinating. The snap can have its own API. So you build your own startup, you have your own API. You can actually build a snap that communicates. For example, a startup that I don't know, like they're building like crazy. It's called Superfluid. They have their own API. I don't know if you know the guys. I think the founders are Italian. They're streaming data, and obviously the use case that people use is streaming money. So instead sending me to you like an amount of money, I stream you. I open a stream. It's basically an open smart contract that is streaming amount of money. For example, I don't know, $5,000 in a month. So you have like millisecond of streams. It's quite interesting. But long story short is that if there will be like a Snap, they can also interact with their own API. That's the quite interesting part, because a lot of even plugins, they are not allowing external API. Make sense? Or it's a bit... this is like an example. When you install, even on the installing side, there is a list of things that the Snap will ask to the extension. Like, so fetch and display transaction insights. Transaction insights is a part, and then access the internet. Even like this amount of like access requests is done, because the Snap at the beginning doesn't have any permission to do anything. You're in full control of what exactly is happening.
Like manifest.
Yes.
Android.
Yes, but not everything goes on like when I'm installing. I don't have iPhone. I was trying to test it, but also on Android sometimes you don't. When you install stuff, and I think there is also apps that you can install apps that are working together. You don't know exactly like how they're working together. And Android I think they say that is the app that need to disclose it, but I think it should be on an Android level.
So there are some concepts that need to be kind of strong acceptance.
Yeah.
But anyway, the manifest need to show
Yes.
data the app is
Yes.
consuming.
Yes. The challenge is always not making it too long. If not, people will lose interest, right? Like, and this is just an example, but I will show you in a few moments. So what exactly is a Snap? Because I just spoke very high level. So it's basically a JavaScript, TypeScript, and WASM. So it's as a source code, you have specific like a manifest, for example. It's a .json you see in your library, and is a normal JSON like other dApps. Just to make you understand, this is also like an NPM package, so it's published to NPM. So when the Snap is accepted, right now is due diligence by the core team. It's you will see it in NPM. Go for it.
Publish my Snap if I am developing my private NPM without you or something?
Yeah, you can do that.
And
Testing. Yeah, in an hackathon you can do that. Yeah.
Yeah, but the question is who's doing the due diligence then if I don't give you access to my NPM repository?
Right now, I think you need to give access to the core team for doing the due diligence. Yeah.
Under an NDA.
Yeah. But I mean, there is not a lot of like reason. Right now, he's on the developer. He's not still on production, right? But of course, the future is having. We don't want to own a marketplace, but if in the future will someone want to build it, the idea is to have like specific section. There are like green lighted snaps compare like community green lighted snaps. So specific things.
This is the first time I'm hearing snaps.
Yeah.
It seems interesting, but I don't. What's the use case? So
I know. Wait, three slides. You get all the use cases. No, it's super interesting. Yeah, because I wanna basically say everything in 10 sentences, but there is so many cool things. But this is basically the distribution side. So you publish to NPM. You have your cooldev.com or whatever, and people can deploy a dApp to invite users to install your Snap, and then when a dApp invokes your Snap, MetaMask will prompt user to install your snaps. So basically, that's the process. So the idea is that you have already users that can install the dApp afterwards in the third step. Go for it.
Should I wait for my question?
Yeah, look, it's coming. Where is it? No, it's coming. Yeah, but you mean for question regarding this or the use case?
Questions.
No, go for it.
So is it being packaged together with the MetaMask extension, or is it a separate thing on its own on the user's extension?
Right now, snaps are on npms. We have a reference library, and you can. I show you like a couple of websites. They're quite cool. And when a snap is installed, you see that in Flask. So basically, what you're doing is you're going on your Flask. So Flask is the MetaMask staging. It's like the canary distribution for like developers. There are a bunch of like. If you go on settings, there are a bunch of like also developer features. And I also recommend to the developer here when you guys are hacking, you use Flask directly. But you can go on setting and see like what snaps, for example, I have installed. And currently the file snaps is the one that is currently active. But there are like a bunch of those. And this is when you download and you install the snap, this is where it will be appearing. And of course, like we're still figuring out like if there is a marketplace, how actually the snaps will be added. But I think it's a normal. Logically, like you will basically like directly install the snap in the marketplace through npm. So I think that's to answer kind of the question. So how we are distributing it, as we spoke about it. Let me just go back. So basically, yeah, that's what I showed you before. So the file snap, the consistency of Starknet, and then other dApps can use your snap too. So that's also something that is part. So basically, on the use case, so there are a bunch of use cases. Like we have a wish list on a GitHub discussion that basically make the developers choose in hackathon. But there are stronger use cases that are more priority. For example, like people that cannot add non-EVM compatible. For example, you cannot add Solana, BTC, you cannot add Filecoin, basically everything non-EVM. So like snaps on non-EVM, basically non-EVM compatible, so EVM extensions, rollup support, although like rollups they're still part, but what you can do is creating a snap that is using rollup for making a lower infrastructure transaction. For example, you send ETH in an hackathon, someone build like a snap that you can send ETH, but in theory what you're doing is you're using Matic, but you don't know. Like this is super cool, but you receive ETH, right? It costs more, but I mean the practical. But in theory, it's quite cool because the end user is not aware about using rollups. API, transaction insights, API that we did. Privacy is quite cool. Like there are a bunch of like revoke access snaps that are built. Today, like a lot of end users have no idea where they are still connected and they're not revoking access. And basically with revoke snap, you can automatically also revoking specific things. That's privacy. Communication is super interesting because we got some team that build a snap for notification. You get notified on production on your iOS about an event has been triggered. For example, I send you some money. If I get some money in my MetaMask, I get a notification like normal Slack notification. But the beauty is that MetaMask is not supporting notification today. Like the guy built a snap that is directly communicating with your iOS that is saying, okay, this event triggered, and you get a notification. Also, one other cool thing is like one guy, for example, built was an arbitrage boat between two dexes, and when the trade was done, you get notified. And the arbitrage snap was on-chain between two dexes. It's quite crazy build, huh? I don't know why he didn't push to, and was on production. Why he didn't like continue build, because I would use that arbitrage vote. Yeah, it's quite cool. Also messaging snaps could be cool. You can literally build a WhatsApp for encrypted messages. That's also like quite cool that some guy built. And in theory, all the transactions already end-to-end encrypted, so it's a no-brainer using that for also sending information.
Also built in something like a zero knowledge proof support for your smart contracts.
Yes, that's also definitely possible. We have also like people that try to use Ganache and some debugger on Truffle for testing the authenticity of the smart contract of the dApp. Before running the dApp, you're running the snap, is checking, like, it's kind of like an auditing on the security category, right? One also big part is like something like 70% of attacks are because like people are leaking, are sending the secret code phrase as DM. This is crazy, right? People think about like, you know, security issues, but at the end of the day, 70% is this, and the other 30 is email phishing attacks. That's also like one part, and one also big part is you connected to a known, basically a non-trusted, basically like something like etherscan.com is a one etherscan.com. You didn't check the specific URL, and some people basically build a snap like every time that you attach yourself to a dApp, you connect to a dApp. The snap will see if it's a blacklisted. There is already in the security premise on MetaMask, but what you can do is also like cross-check with like different lists, like not Chain Security, the other company, Chain Analysis provide like blacklisted addresses, updated libraries, and you can cross-check on that too. So that's, I mean, in theory, it's endless. And also, like, you should check out this wish list. It's so small. Wish list. Check here. Here we have. So basically, this is like just a specific like use case that we push for like if Lisbon, like smart contract audit multi-sig. So the multi-sig, it's when I say that the retrieving your account, when in theory you lose your MetaMask account, right? You don't remember your secret query phrase. What happens in theory? You can pre-build using this snap about recovery. Like today, for example, I don't know if you use Argent, for example, but you do it. This process you do it per email, and the email are not the best process. What you should do is actually like do that with literally Ethereum addresses, and that's one. Transaction insights. That's another use case. Phishing prevention. We spoke about that. Messaging notification, like with EPNS and Vaku. Now it's called Notify or Nullfiers or something. But that's super quite cool. Decentralized identity. DAO tooling. DAO tooling is also quite cool. Think about that. You get notified by a DAO proposal. It got passed. It didn't got passed. Automatic proposal acceptance. You can even say like analytics tooling that you use a snap to verify that a project has enough, I don't know, like GitHub stars or something like that. Think about that. Price feed is the one that I mentioned before. Layer 2 support, that's also quite cool. And protocol snaps, basically like support for other protocols. Avalanche Tezos, a bunch of those are coming. Hardware support, because today we are integrating the like hardware companies that are approaching us, and they're like literally like 20 or more in the waiting list. But now, thanks to a snap, those hardware wallets can create direct support for MetaMask. That's also quite cool because and the same concept could be done with fiat on ramp. If you ever like buy crypto directly on MetaMask, with the fiat on ramp, you have like 5 or 6 providers. And integrating those providers are is taking long. And basically what's happening, and there are like something like 50 fiat on ramp providers that are in the waiting list. And there is literally like no time to do that, but what you could do is also like building your own fiat on ramp snap that people can choose, for example, Ramp. Ramp is not integrated, right? Ramp could be like a snap and go directly and buy directly on Ramp there. Key backup. This is extremely interesting because the snap that being built on for like storing. It's called File Snap. I can show you later. It's a little bit long, but basically what you're doing is you're storing stuff directly on your MetaMask. Think about like it's a drive folder inside MetaMask using the IPFS protocol. This is cool. Yeah, I don't know, like if you see the power also on that side, it's quite it's a quite strong value proposition for people, because not just you're storing data, but at the same time you can access 30 million monthly active users to retrieve specific pieces of the data. And I think that's yeah, an ever expanding API. What basically is coming soon that we didn't spoke about, yeah, schedule action with cron jobs. So this is basically meaning that you can event much more customized event triggers. Think about, like, I don't know if you use this Chrome extension called gasfee.org or something that got deprecated. Like, there is one guy that basically built it and built a snap for automatic buying, basically a limit order snap when the gas fee is lower than a specific, but directly inside the extension. And also, like, maybe like 50% of the hacker that wanna like bring forward, like build for their snap is when I can customize production MetaMask or UI. Literally like customizing the extension with new buttons, with new features, like on the UIs, on the UI side. And this is also coming that the team is working on. Why so important? Let me show. I'm just trying to understand. Like, show you. Like, this is a little bit stupid slide, but when you look in iOS, there are 4.5 million apps in last year. How many of those were built actually by Apple? Give me a percentage. Like, more than, I don't know, more than 20%.
Less than 1%.
Yes, exactly. 0.01% made by Apple. That's crazy, right? Think about, like, I think something like 45. That's crazy. When you're looking at Google Chrome, there are under 30,000 extensions. Less than 0.1 made by Google, and this is crazy. There are like 35. I checked actually, like when before it Lisbon for that, and this is quite interesting. Same. I'm not a big fan, but same. If you're looking at application. Nobody knows how many, but a bunch. Just trying to make you understand how is the concept. Obviously, this is the only app that I need, but it's the same concept back in the days that I was using. And by the way, it's not made by Microsoft. I don't know if you knew that. Like the best app literally doing that. But
It was awesome.
what is it? Yeah.
That's the reason it was awesome.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, exactly. But back to the point. I don't know if you remember Simon. My father was using it. Don't ask me how old I was, so you can backtrack how old I am now. But basically, wallets are here today. Like basically, is like that, right? We have specific features, and we are literally at 0.01% on the side. But what we're doing literally today is building new Simon mirrored with features every day. And this is not like judging the wallet industry because it's also the same with the specific dApps. But we are not actually like moving really forward when we see like what's happening in the industry. And yeah, basically that's the idea with the snaps, right? Like not just on infrastructure level, but also like having the community building specific like snap and extension on functionality, and the community is owning this because we literally don't have the time and the even like the know-how sometimes, right? There are extremely like strong developer out there that can build those. An open door for innovation. Yeah, basically that's what I'm trying to say right now. What you can check, I would also suggest you to check Flask, the Canary build of MetaMask, and the Snaps website directly. I want to show you now 3 examples that I pre-recorded before. Basically, this is Starknet. So Starknet is non-EVM compatible. I don't know how many of you know Cairo, but that's a programming language based on, and is not working with MetaMask. So what you're doing right now, what's happening is you're going to the Starknet snap. So right now, this is still not in the UX of the extension. It will be, but now the snap is acting as an independent app. but what you see here is basically what will be inside production next. And what we're doing here, we're receiving and sending Ether with StarNet. So what's happening is, okay, there is a snap, we connect, the pop-up should go up, if I remember correctly, because just going on girly. We have 4 USD here. We are sending it, and what's happening basically in the background, when you're doing the call, you're basically calling the sending API through the snap, not through the extension. You see, do you want to sign the transaction, approve or reject? We will be approving it. And obviously for doing this, you need to have the snap activated, right? And boom, you have it sent, you can go directly on the transaction. And this is basically, this is like the explorer of StarkNet. This is like the StarkNet. You have also the Bitcoin snap. Basically, the Bitcoin snap is allowing sending you BTC directly on top of MetaMask. Let me show you. So what you're doing here is connecting, and I think the process is calling. When you're connecting, is also asking, you see, connect to the npm BTC snap. So what you're connecting right now, and then it should ask, you see, this is very important. It's asking exactly what permission the snap is asking from the extension. So display a confirmation in MetaMask, control your Bitcoin accounts and assets. That's super important, and control your test network account. So you know exactly where the snap will be interacting in which part of the extension. He's asking, are you sure? Because people are smart. And then what you're doing here is, basically you're sending the private key, basically what he was asking before in the permission, and boom, you send your BTC now.
Where is it getting the send public key from? So you need to have a Bitcoin wallet installed already?
Yes. You need to have it. Yes. Right now, basically, it's acting. If you're going to BTC Snap, you can directly do it. But the cool thing is that those are not wrapped BTC. I think in this version it's just testnet tokens. So when you send it, you are signing the transaction on the extension. When you're signing this, you're basically using the snap on the backend. Boom, send the testnet BTC. And this is happened basically on mainnet, on testnet, but live it's not a wrapped part. This is one example, and there is the last example that is actually quite cool. And I know that you guys are tired, but check out this. It's like basically this is it's basically using the transaction inside Snap. And what you're doing here is you're connecting and you're send a contract transaction. Same concept. Every time is the same. This is what's happening. The Snap is asking for permission to fetch and display transaction insights and access the internet. Obviously, this is that's something always. What you're doing here, basically, here you send the transaction, and you see here ABI decoder Snap. So this is a fourth extension that right now there is not in the extension today. And this is basically like an interface for the Snap to see what's happening. We're not able to. And this is costumed. When you're clicking here, this is costumed UI. But think about that. What can happen also, the users when they're adding a Snap can change part of the UI. For example, changing like where the buttons are, adding new buttons. The challenge there is we want to make sure that end users perceive what's the difference between like the normal production MetaMask and the added features on from the Snap. Yeah, basically we have insufficient funds. But yeah, so basically that's a little bit it. Developer resources. I showed you already the wish list. What you can do, this is literally like a 2 hours, we pre-build this for like hackers that are going to hackathons, they don't have a lot of time. And we also pre-build a monorepo, a Snap monorepo that you can take and build your Snap from the monorepo. It's similar to an SDK. 5-30 minutes, depending how much you have time. Those are reference Snap. I suggest you, like, if you guys want to check the file snap, that's quite powerful. And the password manager snap is the one that I mentioned before about secret key recovery. That's quite cool. Cool. I think let me show you, like, that's just general slide before concluding on the developer ecosystem. So what's happening this year? Actually, 2 weeks ago we launched the MetaMask Grants DAO, the MetaMask Grants DAO, and those are around, I think, 600,000 per quarter, and anyone can send proposals to the Grants DAO. This is the first employee-led company DAO that is using the treasury of the company to fund proposals. It's super interesting. Like employee can see the proposal and can vote on giving grants or not. And something around 20-30% of these grants will go also to snaps, people that building and the community building snaps. Yeah, this year, as I said before, like we were able to spin specifically with MetaMask, not only in Few and Truffle, around 50K in bounties and have around 10 hackathons, basically all the ETH global backed events. And we also organized a bunch of like day events during the major conference. Last one was in Bogota for DevCon, and next one will be probably in Denver if you guys are going around next year.